A farmer had an unexpected surprise when he discovered one of his hens sitting on something out of the ordinary. In fact, what it turned out to be was simply bizarre. At first he thought she was just mothering her eggs, but the baffling truth was far less straightforward. When a farmer in New South Wales, Australia noticed that one of his hens was missing, he didn't think anything of it at first. This particular hen was known for sneaking away from the henhouse. The bird didn't really enjoy being with other chickens. Instead, she liked to visit the rest of the farm, making friends with other animals or spending time with the farmer himself. When the farmer finally found the hen, he noticed that she was guarding something. At first he thought she'd laid some eggs, but that was only part of the story. When the farmer lifted up the hen, he found, as expected, 2 freshly laid eggs. Next to them, though, the hen had been brooding over some very different animals. As soon as he let the chicken go, she rushed back to protect her brood. She snuggled up on top of both her eggs and the other tiny creatures that she was protecting. The farmer tried his best to get a good look at the hen's adopted children. They were small and were clearly enjoying the warmth their chicken mom was providing. They were tiny newborn kittens. For some reason, the hen, filled with motherly instinct, had taken it upon herself to keep the farm's resident cats' babies safe while their mommy was off hunting mice. As strange as this may sound, this isn't an unusual occurrence for hens on farms. These animals are so kind and caring that they'll keep any small animal warm if they feel they need it. More recently, another farmer found a large hen similarly splitting her attention between 2 species. Underneath her were a clutch of eggs, but that wasn't all. The hen did not want to be moved. She wanted to give all the warmth and comfort she could to both her eggs and her adopted babies. Finally, after some effort, the farmer got a good look at the hen's mammal child. Yet again, this chicken was caring for a kitten. It seems the hen wasn't particularly concerned about how her kitten would grow up into a bird-bothering cat. She fought hard against the farmer to climb back to the kitten. Cats have a faster metabolism than humans, and like to be snuggled up warm. This is why they'll often try sitting on a computer in a room that's set at a comfortable temperature for their owner. Not only did this chicken rush to keep the kitten warm, but she prioritized this over her own eggs. After making sure the cat was safe, she then carefully pulled her own growing children under her wings, one by one. In a similar care, one chicken roosted atop an entire litter of small kittens. Here's hoping the cats repaid her kindness once they grew up, and didn't try to eat any of her naturally born babies. A farm in Korea has become so accustomed to hens mothering cats that they've stopped trying to fight it at all. The cats and chickens share their space without any infighting at all. These kittens love snuggling up with their babysitter, and will even play with her when they get the chance. It's nice to stay warm, but it's also nice to have a friend. The hen doesn't seem too bothered at all about gathering kittens under her wing. She doesn't seem to consider any cat to be a danger. These animals look absolutely adorable with each other. While the farmers are a little baffled by this behavior, they can't exactly see why the cats and hens shouldn't keep each other company. Hens can't provide all the mothering that tiny kittens need. These animals still require cat milk, but mommy is still on the scene. She's just happy to trust her feathered babysitter. The cats absolutely make it look like snuggling underneath a chicken is the warmest, most comfortable place on earth. As they get bigger, they might want more space to themselves, but for now, they're happy to cuddle together. The kittens even play with their eggy neighbors, although in fairness, it's hard to say whether the chicken fetus is actually enjoying this. Apparently mother hen is happy to trust the kittens to play nice. Of course, that trust might be misplaced. At least the kittens don't seem to be able to actually bite through eggshell just yet. The hen doesn't just snuggle with baby cats. She's willing to lend her heat to anyone who desires it. This includes mommy cat herself, when she's around. These 2 animals would otherwise be enemies, but here on the farm, they're happy to live in harmony. Hens really are wonderfully kind and caring animals. There's something to think of the next time you're chewing some buffalo wings. If you enjoyed this story, then wait for our next story starting in 10 seconds. Police officer Jose de Leon was patrolling a bus depot at Miami-Dade International Airport when he ran into a homeless dad. But he had no way of knowing that this stranger would end up changing his routine and the days of his entire department. Miami-Dade police officers Jose de Leon, Roberto Azque, Isabel Soto, Diane Wilhelm and Scott McBath were patrolling a travel hub near Miami-Dade International Airport. This wasn't their first time doing so. It had become a ritual for them. But something about this day would change their lives forever and spread their story across the world. The officers had a combined 80 years of experience in law enforcement, and like all cops, they were stationed to serve and protect. But they had no idea that their oath would be put to the test on this one fateful day. "I don't think any of us here consider ourselves heroes," Officer Azquay told CNN. "We're doing our job. At the end of the day, that's what we signed up for. That's what we swore to do right in our community." But they were about to face one of their biggest challenges. But as these police officers will tell you, being a cop isn't always about catching bad guys and writing tickets. Strange things can happen when you're patrolling the streets. Some might take years to get over. But nothing in their experience could have prepared them for this. Sacrificing for the good of others is Officer Azquay's mantra. It's literally a part of who he is. He even has a tattoo on his arm that reads, "The true warrior is one who sacrifices himself for the good others." And that's exactly what his fellow officers did. Patrolling the travel hub at Miami International Airport means that these cops run into a lot of people from all different walks of life. Some ask them for directions while others ask for help to find someone who has stolen their wallet or purse. But this wasn't either of those cases. Not once have they ever questioned their decision to help someone in need. They do the job they've sworn to do, and they do it with a smile, too. But that wasn't the case in October 2019 when someone approached Officer DeLeon. But what did the man want? Cops often get a bad rap because of a few bad apples in law enforcement. This sometimes causes some people to panic prematurely when they see an officer of the law. But this stranger wasn't running away. He was coming straight towards DeLeon, and he seemed desperate. Most cops would reach for their weapon just in case, but DeLeon saw something in the man's eyes that told him to stand his ground. Still, he wasn't sure what the man wanted, but he was certain that this guy didn't have much to lose, and that was potentially a bad sign. The man was desperate. It was obvious in his face and in his eyes. But what was he looking for? It would have been foolish to try to steal from a cop. It didn't take long for DeLeon to realize that money was exactly what he wanted from him. The stranger was clearly down on his luck and not in the best state of mind. Worst of all, DeLeon was all by himself. His fellow officers were nowhere in sight. He could radio in for help, but would they arrive in time? When the man approached DeLeon, he came all by himself. His family was standing nearby. He quickly realized he wasn't really a threat. After speaking to the man for a few moments, the police officer was eager to reach into his pocket and take something out. But what was it? The man told the officer that he and his family had moved from Michigan to Florida. He was going to work as a cook. But then they got kicked out of a relative's home and now they were homeless. Desperate times call for desperate measures, so they took shelter in the bus depot. But they were in desperate need of help. They were all alone, so DeLeon immediately knew that he and his fellow officers had to take action. So, he approached Officer Azquay and his fellow officers and told them that they had a family that needed their help. But when they saw it with their own eyes, they were left speechless. DeLeon and the officers visited the homeless dad and his family and saw that they had stashed their belongings inside several garbage bags. They also noticed that the man's wife was holding a 2-month-old in her arms and they had other kids. The 5 officers were completely heartbroken for the homeless dad and his family. They were all parents themselves and would never want any child to experience the pain of being hungry or live without a roof over their head. So, they came up with a way to help this family in need. They reached towards their pockets, which would normally send chills down a civilian's spine. But they didn't take a weapon or handcuffs out. They had something amazing in mind. They took out all the money that they had in their pockets and combined it. Collectively, they nearly had $200, which they gladly surrendered to the homeless dad and his family. But one officer was brought to tears. Officer Wilhelm couldn't believe that a newborn baby had been sleeping at a bus station. As a new mother herself, this really tugged at her heartstrings. "I had just taken out money that morning and I gave it up," Wilhelm told CNN. But $200 wasn't enough. After giving the family the money, they made a few calls and found a local shelter that could accommodate the family of 6. But the officers didn't simply give them the address and then take off. The police officers drove the family to the shelter, but there were so many people that they couldn't take them all at once. It took 3 units to carry everybody and their belongings, Officer McBath recalled. The officers said that the man and his wife expressed their gratitude to them. But the homeless dad's priorities were clear. The family didn't have a home in Florida, but their problems would be solved if they went back to Michigan. So the next step was clear. Had the homeless dad not approached Officer DeLeon, the family would still be living at the bus depot instead of a shelter. But they didn't want to live like this forever, and now they had the resources to get home. Although the officers haven't heard from the homeless dad since, the family used the money and the shelter's resources to finally get back to Michigan. The officers hope that they'll be able to get their lives back together. I don't think any of us here consider ourselves heroes, Officer Azquay told CNN. We're doing our job. At the end of the day, that's what we signed up for. That's what we swore to do right in our community. Sounds like the force needs more officers like these amazing fellows.